In a previous video, we looked at two Imperial officers who were respected by Darth Vader, namely Ensign Nanda and Irv Lakoff. In today's video, we're going to look at the final two officers on our list, discussing their stories as seen within the Legends lore and explaining why we can say that they were respected by Vader. These two Imperial officers are Lieutenant Gregg and Admiral Piett, and we'll start by looking at the story of the former as it exists within the Legends lore. In the earliest months of the Imperial era, Darth Vader became committed to finding and eliminating Das Janir, a Jedi who survived Order 66. However, as part of his mission regarding Janir, Vader would also attempt to find a bounty hunter named Falco Sang, who made Vader's efforts in finding Janir more difficult by eliminating an important source of information. Having obtained instructions from the Emperor to deal with both of them, in his search for Janir and Sang upon an Imperial capital ship, Vader overheard a conversation between two Imperial officers, with Lieutenant Gregg believing he found an important connection to the individuals Vader was searching for. However, an Imperial captain believed Gregg's findings weren't significant in relation to Vader's search for a Jedi, telling Gregg the information wasn't important. But unlike the Imperial captain, Vader saw value in what Gregg found, asking him to send the data directly to him, and ordering the captain to depart for the planet of Von Dark to examine its importance as found by Gregg. In the end, Gregg was right, as his findings and work led Vader directly to both Janir and Sang, both of Vader's intended targets. The success wasn't ignored by Vader either, who gave the lieutenant a significant compliment, telling Gregg he did excellent work. In fact, when Vader went to the surface of the planet, having full confidence in the lieutenant, he instructed the Imperial officer to go with him. Eventually, although the Jedi Janir was able to escape, with Gregg beside him, Vader located Sang, confident he would tell him everything he wanted to know about Janir. After that, as recognized by other Imperial officers, we see Lieutenant Gregg was then viewed as Vader's favorite Imperial officer, ignoring all others on Coruscant while speaking to Gregg alone. Even more, Vader placed Gregg in charge of a project that had the goal of locating Jedi across the galaxy, including Das Janir, clearly putting his trust in the lieutenant given his tremendous success previously. In carrying out his search for Janir, even though Gregg would have some difficulties in finding the Jedi, with the lieutenant showing his continued dedication and commitment to Vader, the Sith Lord did not lash out at Gregg for his inability to find Janir initially, demonstrating that despite some likely frustration, he trusted the lieutenant to help him. And from Gregg's point of view, as seen within the Dark Times comic series, he was dedicated to helping Vader as much as possible, as when Vader wasn't seeing the significance of Gregg's findings that he believed were connected to the Jedi they were searching for, the lieutenant didn't become angry towards Vader, but merely understood the importance of not acting in a way defined as insubordination, and simply tried to find Vader the proof he wanted. From this perspective, we can see why Vader respected him and put his trust in Gregg to carry out their mission of locating Jedi. We do see Gregg going to significant efforts to achieve success, spending countless hours, even long into the night, attempting to locate Jedi for Vader. In fact, this effort was even recognized by Emperor Palpatine himself, who complimented Gregg for his diligence. After the lieutenant informed Palpatine of the task Vader assigned him to search for any information revealing indications of Jedi activity, Palpatine would eventually be the one to provide Gregg with the location of Janir, and he rushed to inform Vader of this information. I think the scene we see next demonstrates how much Vader respected the lieutenant. With Gregg wanting to present his information as quickly as possible, he found Vader within his meditation chamber, and importantly, Gregg saw Vader without his mask and helmet on, a situation that left him speechless. Again demonstrating the confidence Vader had in Gregg, he took no action against the lieutenant at all, with Gregg not just surviving, but not even threatened about the situation. Gregg simply informed Vader of Janir's location, and Vader had their capital ship prepared to confront the Jedi. There's one more example that I want to point out that I think is relevant to how Vader saw Lieutenant Gregg, which occurred during their mission to confront Janir. In preparing their attack, an Imperial officer believed a direct ground assault on the Jedi's location was dangerous, with the potential for Janir to escape, and instead questioned why they couldn't simply bombard the location with their Star Destroyer. However, Vader of course wanted to confront Janir himself and carry out his vengeance against the Jedi personally. Although Vader explained this, he didn't completely trust the Imperial officers not to eventually turn to air support during the mission. But there was one officer Vader did trust, Lieutenant Gregg. When the mission appeared to be in danger and an Imperial officer ordered Imperial gunships to prepare to join the attack, Vader turned to Gregg, ordering the lieutenant to immediately eliminate the Imperial captain if he attempted to intervene. Further demonstrating Gregg's loyalty to Vader and why the Sith Lord likely respected him so much, when Vader's plan appeared to be going badly and the captain was again about to intervene against Vader's direct instructions, Gregg carried out Vader's orders, preventing any intervention, no matter what it meant for the mission's success. All of this demonstrates the extent to which Gregg went to for Vader, and why Vader turned to Gregg numerous times in helping him locate Jedi, ensuring he was allowed to carry out his vengeance against Janir personally, likely proving that the trust Vader placed in Gregg was a result of the respect he had for the lieutenant. The second Imperial officer respected by Darth Vader, and the final one that we'll look at in our total list of 4, is Admiral Piett. In a previous video, we've discussed the shock that accompanied the fact that Darth Vader did not lash out at Admiral Piett during the events of Episode 5. With the Millennium Falcon entering hyperspace, much to the shock of Piett, the Admiral had just failed spectacularly, both in terms of the importance in failing to capture leaders of the rebellion, but also in the personal wishes of Vader regarding his son Luke. As revealed within the Essential Guide to Warfare, Piett himself fully expected that he wouldn't survive such a failure. And yet, he did survive, with Vader silently walking past the Admiral. This single action made Admiral Piett a legend within the Imperial Navy. He was viewed as being so valuable that he was above the wrath and fury of Darth Vader himself. We of course know that there were other elements involved in this scene from the film, with Piett himself recognizing that there might have been other aspects involved in his own survival. But I do think we can say that Piett survived such a significant failure because Vader respected the Admiral and recognized how valuable he was to the command of Death Squadron, the fleet of Darth Vader. And while we can imply this through the scene from Episode 5, the Legends lore includes a number of other aspects demonstrating why Piett was valued by Darth Vader. For example, early in his career within the Imperial Navy, Piett was part of a task force comprised of officers who were considered to be trustworthy, with Piett quickly rising through the ranks due to these efforts, eventually obtaining leadership of the Axilla trade enforcement operations. These efforts did not go unnoticed, and were actually recognized by Vader himself. Impressed by Piett's experience and actions, Vader directly appointed him captain of the Star Destroyer the Accuser, one of the Star Destroyers within Vader's personal fleet. It was Piett's demeanor and his dedication that would subsequently see him promoted to captain of the Super Star Destroyer the Executor, Vader's personal flagship. And of course, it was Darth Vader who directly promoted Piett to Admiral of Death Squadron upon the loss of Admiral Ozzel. Therefore, it was Vader who found and recognized the abilities of Piett through his efforts within the Imperial Navy, brought him into his personal fleet as the captain of a Star Destroyer, and ultimately promoted him to Admiral of the entire fleet itself. I think we can confidently say that Vader respected Piett, with the fact that he survived the failure at the end of Episode 5 being one example within a number of actions made by Vader demonstrating this. So there we have it, the final 2 Imperial officers respected by Darth Vader. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me... For interesting lore similarities.